GSTR-9 for the financial year 22-23. And the thing is that this annual return help you to correct your data, which while filing a GSTR-1 or 3B, you might be incorrectly has been filed. And it may also be a case now, as we know that 30th November was the last day to do the correction for the financial year 22-23. But now, while doing your GSTR-9 RICO, you might be finding that still there may be some minor error or mistake or some figure have been missed, which required to be reported or rectified. Now you have the option to rectify those things. It's not that rectification can happen. It's just that by reporting correctly, you are showing your intention to be genuine. So by taking the advantage of filing GSTR-9 you can make sure if any data incorrectly reported in your 1 and 3B being properly reported in 9 and 9C. This will help you in reducing your litigation, because even if any error happened because of which any tax liability came, you can discharge the same, pay through RIAC 03, and can write about that in your GSTR-9C in an unreconciled turnovers. If you will see in your 9C, after every RICO, there is a box to give the reason for unreconciliation, whether it is for turnover or whether it is for ITC. By using those boxes, those row, you can give your explanation that why this unreconciliation is coming, or if any tax is payable, you have paid it off. This will help you further when any notice is issued. You can show that while filing 99C, I have given my reasons and accordingly, I have taken care of it. Now, the thing is that from 99C, though you can do the tax payment, but there is no option to avail the ITC. ITC availment will happen only through your GSTR 3B. However, if you have availed more than what is eligible to claim, then obviously you can do the reversal, or you can show that you have availed more than that, keeping the unreconciled, and you can write about that in your table 12 unreconciliation while giving the reason in table 30. And in that way, you can show your genuineness and there will be no suppression from your side. So officer will not be able to invoke section 74, which deals with a case of when there is a suppression, willful misstatement. So it's a one-time opportunity to correct the data incorrectly reported while filing your GSTR 1 and 3B. Now you would be noticing we are doing multiple sessions for 99C because it's very important. Now everything government is doing automation. For every notices also, it's now got automated. So whenever there is any discrepancy happen, immediately you will get the notice and immediately you have to take the action against it. Because now they have also come with a restriction whereby they will not allow you to file subsequent return. So for example, if your GSTR 1 and 3B, there is any discrepancy, they will issue you a notice where you have to reply within 7 days. If you don't do your reply within 7 days, they will block you from filing your subsequent GSTR 1 and 3B. So it's very important to be in compliance with law. Another important thing of GSTR-9 is that even though it is applicable upon a threshold limit, they have given that if it is above 2 crore, you do your GSTR-9. If above 5 crore, do 9C. But the thing is that if you have did any error, then it's better to file your 9 and 9C, even though you are below the threshold limit, because this will help you in future when the notices will come. Now, with this, we'll move one by one what the 9C consists of, what are the data you should take care of while filing your 99C. So the first thing is, what's the difference between 9 and 9C? Basically, GSTR 9 is we report what we have done. What we have done is what we have reported in GSTR 1 and what we have reported in GSTR 3B. See, GSTR 3B is more or less basically for tax payment, and GSTR 1 is for reporting of your outward supply. So what we reported in 1 and 3B, that data we report in GSTR 9. And 9C, when we say, if you will see, it's a reconciliation statement, which is basically a comparison between what is there in your books and what you reported in your GST returns. So based on that RECO, you have to give the details which may or may not match with the GST returns you have filed. So you have to do the comparison, report in 9C, and GSTR 9 is what you have done that you have to report there.
Ashika? Ashika?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to explain this slide because this is important. One second. No, be there on that. Yeah. Okay. Friends, I'm sure most of you would have already prepared GSTR 9 and ready to file. But knowing what is the data that needs to go in is really important, because the if we have a wrong understanding, then the wrong data going will also create an issue at a later point in time. Now, as Ashika rightly said, the GSTR 9 is about statement of fact, wherein is like you need to know what has been done. So knowing what is done is important, because when we say what is done, either the tax is paid or not, ITC availed or not. So if tax has been paid, it will come in GSTR 9. Tax not paid, it will not come in GSTR 9. ITC which has been availed, whether eligible doesn't matter. If it is availed, it will come. Assuming there is an ITC which is there in books to be everywhere, but not availed, then it will not come. So knowing what has to be reported, what should not be reported is important. Because people always think that, okay, GSTR 9 should be in sync with the books. When they say it should be in sync with the books, it means that they're expecting that the liability that is there, it has to be discharged. Discharged by way of what? Either GSTR 3B or DRC 03. In fact, that is where the next slide which has been prepared, where it explains that the taxes which is there in the books reported in R1, reported in 3B will come in R9. But the taxes which is there in the books and also reported in R1 but did not report it in 3B, then I will not be reporting it into my GSTR 9. Like if you see the second one, not reported in R1, absolutely no issue. But having the taxes paid, it will still have to come to GSTR 9. But if you see the third one, my R1 is correct, but 3B is not correct, then I will not be reporting it in GSTR 9. In which situation I'll report it in GSTR 9, even if it is not there in 3B? That's the fourth situation, wherein the taxes that were not paid will have to be paid through GSTR DRC 03. Only then that would be coming into GSTR 9. Like knowing this concept is very important, because what is the final value that is getting reported would be questioned by audit at a later point in time. So, so now we will quickly understand in terms of the various points wherein you report into GSTR 9. Broadly, the structure is properly done, well defined structure, where the GSTR 9 is divided into 6 parts. Part 1, basic information. Part 2 is relating the turnover and the liability, which is table 4 and 5. Part 3 is relating to input tax credit, so which is relating to ITC availed in table 6, ITC reversed in table 7, a reconciliation of 2A versus 2B in table 8. Then part 9 is part 4, which is table 9, tax paid and tax paid details. Payable and paid is disclosed in table 9. The part 5, which is more important, is a circular 26, where the government has allowed to make the corrections of the mistakes in 3B in the subsequent tax period. In fact, there is a proposition where the government is looking at, can we build a revised returns, which all this while the concept of revised return doesn't exist. So given that the revised return is not there, if any tax in the month of March which you are supposed to pay, if you have paid in April, still it is pertaining to the financial year 22-23. So only the transactions pertaining to financial year 22-23 has to be reported in table 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what the instruction says. And when it comes to the outward liability, the transactions pertaining to financial year 22-23 means the turnover and liability of that year, whether paid or not. When it comes to the ITC of 22-23 means the ITC availed in 22-23. It might be an ITC of 21-22, but revisible in my GSTR 2B of 22-23. Because 16 subsection 2 clause D clearly says the input tax credit means it becomes credit only when you have reported in your GSTR 3B, right? Section 39. So, having said that, if some mistakes of that carried forward in the subsequent period, that gets reported into part 5. Table 10 and 11 towards outward liability, table 12 and 13 towards ITC. Then government wanted miscellaneous information, table 15 to 19, that information is there. So to file your GSTR-9, what does the information require? This is where GST Zen software would help you. You need to have the visibility of what is the data which is there in the books of accounts. Is the first and fundamental things. At the same time, did I report that value in my R1 and 3B? That's the second thing you should be knowing. Then if something has been paid in the subsequent year, so you need to have a visibility of next year 3B, and also is there a value that I'm borrowing from the previous year GSTR-9? A copy of the previous year GSTR-9 is also required. So this information needs to be there in handy. And downloading this data from the government portal is a humongous task. Like tools with GST Zen is a click of a button, all this information will get downloaded. In the next session, our colleague Bharti would actually explain you that how we can generate GSTR-9 using GST Zen. So let's start with the outward turnover related reporting. What is that we need to know is deriving what should be my turnover. Like even the before I get ahead in terms of putting a values in various tables, firstly, what is my turnover? I should know. You may ask, why will I not know? You will know from the income tax perspective or the audit perspective. Your books of accounts are derived based on Ind AS and IFRS. While GST is derived basis the time of supply as per GST section 12 and 13. 12 for goods, 13 for services. So the timing difference between the revenue in the books and revenue in GST has to be reconciled. For example, I have received advance. It is never a revenue till I provide. But from GST, I pay tax. While I have provided the services, but I have not raised invoice. I'm waiting for approval from the client. Whether or not I raised an invoice, it is a revenue for the books. But only when I have raised the invoice, it will become a revenue for the purpose of GST. However, there is a time limit within 30 days I need to raise. So fulfilling all those conditions. So there will always be a timing difference between the revenue in the books and the revenue as per GST. So to align this revenue as per books in 3B is where this table is prepared. GSTR-9C table 5. Whether or not 9C is applicable, you have to do it. Like Ashika has mentioned, the 9C is applicable for turnover for more than 5 crores and turnover above 2 crores, 9 is applicable. And if you don't file, the notices would automatically be coming. And importantly, we have a late fee. Like people who don't file GSTR-9 or 9Cs in the time, there is a late fees that will be there. Now, earlier the late fee was 100 rupees per day. But however, from this financial year, 22-23, which we are filing, the late fee has been reduced to 50 rupees per day, which is 25 CGST, 25 SGST, the turnover up to 5 crores. If the turnover is beyond 5 crores, then the late fees is 50 rupees CGST, 50 rupees SGST. So this late fee is going to be applicable if you file your returns late. So better not file the returns late. Having derived the turnover, what is the turnover for the purpose of GST? I would say that you now need to do multifold reconciliation, starting with what is my taxable, put it to table 4. What is not taxable, put it to table 5. Even in table 4, there are a lot of subtables. So like your GSTR-1, you got to segregate all the types of turnover towards B2C in 4A, B2B in 4B, exports with pay in 4C, SEZ with pay in 4D, and deemed exports in 4E. So ideally, this is of turnover. 4F is of advances. So advances could be positive or negative. Let's say you received advance in previous year, you paid the tax. This year you raised the invoice. So the invoice that you raised will be in 4B. The advance which you have already paid and adjusted would be negative 4F. And 4G, though it is not a turnover, but you have a liability towards RCM. Notification 13/2017 updated time to time will have details of list of expenditure where you have to pay under RCM, right? So even that is your liability. So all the liability is captured. With regards to your 4B to 4E, if you have issued debit note, credit notes, or adjustment upward and downward, is captured from 4I to 4L. Please note, with regards to B2C, the debit note, credit note, all the net figure to be reported in 4A. You might not find these values in your 3B when you're making the payment. So here comes a reconciliation between the books and 3B and GSTR-1. So GST Zen will actually help you in arriving the values that needs to get into all these areas will be automated. And when you see the demo, you will understand the Zen will auto-populate all these numbers. When it comes to table 5, pretty simple. All the turnover where there is no tax liability will be reported in your table 5. Now, as you discovered this, if there is any liability missed out, you will be paying it through DRC03. Your total turnover is to be computed as a checkpoint. You will have to see your total turnover is there in 4G, excluding because that is inward. So rest of the turnover is your 4G. So rest of your turnover is 5N. That is what you should be actually looking at for the purpose of reconciliation, right? Any questions to anyone at this point? Let me see if there are any questions in the chat. All right. If you have any questions, please put those questions in the chat. Otherwise, we'll keep moving on. So now, given that you understood the turnover, so in terms of reporting of the turnover, the taxes that you have paid during the year will get reported in table 4. The taxes that you have paid in the subsequent year will get reported in table 10. If something is not paid, will not get reported. But if you have to pay now, you're paying through DRC03, then that gets reported into table 4. So it's very important that you understand the values that get into various tables. That is more important. So alongside of it, we also have to report the values in 9C also. Alongside of it, we have to report the values in 9C. So when we are talking about table 4 DRC03, let me just take you through the tax that is needs to be paid, which is to be whether we pay it in cash or how we pay. Ideally, DRC03 is another tax payment challan like 3B. In 3B, I make the payment of taxes through input tax credit, through my cash balance ledger. But when it comes to DRC03, I have to pay the taxes through cash. Exceptional situations, you can pay it through input tax credit, one reversal of input tax credit, or which is unutilized credit which is lying, or I have a balance in input tax credit ledger from March 23 and it is still continuing date. So I cannot use the future credit to pay the old taxes. Hence, the instructions given in the form saying that the taxes, if any missed out, should definitely be paid only through cash ledger and not the credit ledger. So this is what you have to understand on the payment. Now, the same values which you are seeing has to also be reported using HSN, which is table 17. So we need to do a multi-fold reconciliation. One, the total turnover, taxable and exempt, again taxable under different categories. The same turnover has to also be bifurcated into HSN wise, rate wise, which needs to be reported into table 17. We know above 5 crores turnover, 6-digit HSN is mandatory, and this is also been implemented in the e-invoice. We're expected everyone to do the HSN wise reporting, right? This is another reconciliation one has to do. The same, there are validations which are built under 9C. In 9C, the expected values of reporting is what should be your reporting. So table 5 of 9C is cross-verifying with my 5n plus 10 minus 11. So these are the values that will go into my 9C. So you've got to cross verify that, okay, is the values are same, is something needs to be changed? That is something you have to check. When it comes to the liability, liability is always on the not gross turnover, taxable turnover. Taxable turnover is in table 4 of 9, table 7 of 9C. So table 7 of 9C is compared with 4 plus 10 minus 11. So one important point you should be remembering is when we talk about 10 and 11, 10 and 11 you cannot report exempted turnover. 10 and 11 you cannot report the RCM related inward turnover. These two cannot be reported. Until what point I can consider 10 and 11? If you have made adjustment in the 3B of the next year up until November is when you can consider into this two tables. Now let's move to ITC related reporting. Any questions on the outward thing? All right, let's move to ITC. Now, when it comes to the input tax credit reconciliation, we have three tables, table 6, 7, and 8. Table 6 is the information of all the ITC that has been availed. Table 7 is the ITC that has been reversed. Table 8 is the reconciliation with 2A. While parallel in 9C is table 12 and table 14. Now let's understand what the data goes into this. There's one question from Akash Gupta. 21-22 last year sales reflected in 22-23 R1 and 3B. Where can we show in GSTR-9? Akash Gupta, 21-22 turnover, you're reporting only in the R1 of 22-23. But the related liability is 21-22. So it should go to R9 of 22 and 22. And it will not be in R9 of 22-23. Okay. So how do I report in my ITC in GSTR-9? Equivalent columns of 3B is on my right side. The equivalent columns of GSTR-9 is on the left side. The August 22 of the last year, the GSTR 3B got changed and a new format of 3B has come in. The expectation is all the input tax credit, which is visible in 2B, whether pertains to you or not, should be availed, should be reported, should be taken. And those doesn't pertain to you, reverse it. 4B1, a permanent reversal, 4B2, a temporary reversal. So a temporary reversal owing to various conditions not fulfilled in 16 subsection 2. Whenever you are fulfilling, you can re-avail it. So when you are re-availing the credit, the first time availment is reported into 4A1, the subsequent availment is reported into first time reporting is reported into 6B, the subsequent availment is reported into 6H. Because in 3B, you are always reporting it into 4A5. So this difference between what value goes to 6B and what value goes to 6H, you have to be very careful of. This is something one should be knowing. Now, if the credit is been availed in the same year, purchases of the 22-23 availed in the same year, it goes to table 6. If the credit availed in the subsequent year, it goes to table 13. In case if the reversal has happened in the same year, goes to table 7. If the reversal happened in the subsequent year, goes to table 12. Now, 8 is a confusing table and important table. There are different values. As long as you are reversing some input tax credit, absolutely no issue. You can show it in anywhere in table 12 or table 7. Okay, that is not at all an issue. Now, what like how we have an ITC reconciliation, which we have, how we have done an outward reconciliation like table 5, we should do an ITC reconciliation before we file GSTR-9. How do I do ITC reconciliation? Freezing of ITC is very important because in the books, you have revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. This expenditure has to be segregated into two parts. Wherever the expenditure where I have an input tax credit and the expenditure I don't have the input tax credit. Expenditure where I have the input tax credit. So I have to now next question myself, am I eligible for it or not? If I am eligible for it, absolutely no issue, avail the credit. So we know there is rule 42, 43. Any credit towards taxable supplies is eligible. Any credit which is not towards taxable supplies, not eligible. So ITC that is there in the books, you have to test whether it should fit into table 6 or 6 and 7. And that is what you have to see. Now, if ineligible credit you have not reversed, then today is the last opportunity to reverse it. If paid the taxes through DRC 03 and report it into table 7. Like how we are reporting your outward supplies payment in table 4, ITC reversal you will be now reporting into table 7. Ideally, your 4C, the net credit availed in 3B should match with 7J. If it is not matching, then you got to see is there any DRC 03. Now, when it comes to your without GST, look at whether have you purchased from a composition dealer, or is it registered dealer but exempted, or a small dealer, or more importantly, is this a notified RCM is the question that you have to answer yourself. If it is a notified RCM, then you got to definitely look at it that whether I have paid the taxes or not. Because there are many times while we are seeing it, the people don't pay the taxes on the RCM unknowingly. So the expenditure where there is no GST, if that expenditure is fitting into any of these heads, better pay the taxes now to avoid the interest. Next, do I need to report the RCM of the previous year paid now? Two answers. If the RCM is paid in the 3B, then it will be reported in the next year GSTR-9. If the RCM is paid through DRC 03 and everything is done, then it will directly be reported in 4G. Okay. Only the input tax credit availment comes in table 6, both 6C and 6D. The question again you have to also ask yourself is, have you taken the ITC of it? If you have not taken, the time limit to avail ITC is also November. This presentation will be shared, don't worry. What is the common thing which I have noticed people don't pay, or people think RCM is GT and legal services. Many of the events people, companies sponsor, they don't pay RCM on the sponsor. There are a lot of licenses which is renewed where the services are availed by central government, state government, availed from central, state or local authority where the RCM is not paid. Sitting fees is paid to the directors, RCM is taken, but year end, the performance bonus which is paid under 194J basis turnover basis profits is not considered for RCM. Security services, if hired from a non-corporate, you have to pay under RCM. Renting of motor vehicle is missed out. From last year, if you are renting any residential immovable property, then you have to pay it under RCM. The only thing which will not be coming under RCM in these expenditures is if your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, legal services do not come. The sponsorship versus advertisement is a thin line. If the person is giving you a bill as an advertisement, it will not come. The payment to central government, which is in the nature of tax, it will not be coming. Director services, where you are paying it in the name of the salary, it will not be coming. Security services paid to a corporate and who is under forward charge, it would not be coming. Renting of motor vehicles again to a corporate which is forward charge, it will not be coming. Immovable property, when you are renting as a commercial property, you will not be paying under RCM. So you also need to know what is under RCM, what is not under RCM for these expenditures. So there is an optional reporting, input tax credit to be reported between capital goods, input services and input goods. Government said input services and input goods can be merged. Inward RCM, inward HSN wise reporting is optional. Any questions to anyone? Yeah, I see one. Mr. Sharma, 80 goes negative due to reporting of ITC reverse in 4B1 and 4B2. What should I do? Mr. Sharma, it will continue to be in negative. Okay, table 8 I have not explained. For the benefit of everyone, let's simply put it this way. Table 8 is a reconciliation of 2A versus 2B. An item which is appearing in your 2A, item which is appearing in 2A, will be for the financial year, but an item appearing in 2B can be of this year or previous year. All right. Now, with the new reporting in 3B, if at all I'm reversing something which is under 4B2, a temporary reversal, which I'm re-availing, the re-availment is again reported in 4A5 and 4D1. Pardon me with this table numbers if we are hearing for the first time, but this recording is available. When you look at the form, you will automatically get connected to it. Now I have told my input tax credit is reported in 6B and 6H. So whenever I'm re-availing, I'm reporting the same the tax twice. I'll give you an example. My ITC is 100. For some reason, I don't want to take it now. So I'll report as 4A5 in the first month and 4B2 in the second month. In the first month. Second month, when I'm availing, I will again report it in 4A5, but this time I'll report it in 4D1 also. So my ITC is in two categories. 4A5 is 200, 4B is 100, 4C is 100. Net availed is also 100, right? How does it goes to GSTR-9? In GSTR-9, table 6B will be 100, 6H will be 100, your 7H other reversal will be 100, your 7J net availment is 100. Compared with the 8, my 8A is 100, but 8B, which is 6B plus 6H is 200, it will show a negative 8D. Don't worry. A negative 8D doesn't mean that you have excess availed input tax credit. Theoretically, you have excess availed input credit, which you have to reverse. Have you reversed? Yes. Where is it? 7H. So, Mr. Sharma, 7H is your answer. If a value is there in table 7 and 8D is negative, you don't need to worry. All right. So, just some other issues that we have mentioned. When you are availing credit or reversing credit, please do the tracking at a invoice level. Given that there is a re-availment in the GSTR 3B, mark your claim date. In GST Zen, when you are tracking the credit, you have an option where you can mark it, which is your claim months. If you are reversing it, reasons for reversal. If you are reclaiming it, which month you are reclaiming, you can do that. You know, you have to pay the taxes if the supplier has not filed his 3B. So those also you can be tracking through GST Zen. And if you want to send an automatic reminder, all those facilities are there in the GST Zen. We always advise people that you got to be technology savvy, use the software. Software will be helping in tracking notices, filing status, all the non-compliances, everything will be tracked through the system. Details of it, I would request Bharti to actually explain because she is the better person to tell about the system. Any case, I'm here to answer any questions that we have. We also have our WhatsApp group. I would request people to subscribe to our WhatsApp so that we give you an updates on GST every day. There's one more question. Department is not bothered about 7H issuing notice without considering the reversal. Yeah, so there is a lack of knowledge and information with the department also. Sometimes most of the times you might have to educate that officer saying that this is the situation and this is how it needs to be reported. Sales of March 23 is shown in May 23. Okay. Liability same is paid through ITC of 23-24. How to report in 9 and 9C. Pranjali ji, so it is a liability of March 23. Since you have paid it in the month of April and May, you will be reporting this much turnover in your table 10. Okay. I think we will move to the next part, which is on how to, whatever I said in the theory, how do we actually practically do? Bharti, can you show up? How do we do this in the system?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your presentation, sir. So now I'll be showing the demo of filing your 9 and 9C through GST Zen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay. So this is GST Zen. Let me begin by giving you a brief introduction of GST Zen. So GST Zen is an ASP GSP. We provide various GST compliance tools, be it in regards to filing of your returns, reconciliation, or e-invoicing. All the services are present here. So once you sign up and log into GST Zen, you can add your various GST numbers to the dashboard. It will show you the status of your recent filed returns here as well. And you can also filter by your status of the return if you want to check for which GST numbers GSTR-1 is pending or 3B is pending or 9. So you can filter and check. So right now everybody is filing 9. The due date is 31st. So you want to make sure that you have filed the returns. So here you can filter and you'll get all the GST numbers for which 9 has not yet been filed. So you can keep a track over here of your returns. Plus we have this feature called autopilot where you can also check the status. So you have return filing status if you want to check for 9 or 9C. Similarly, whether it has been filed or not, you select the GST numbers that have been added to GST Zen and you can check the status. Similarly, other functions are also available here. If you want to file returns or download data, you won't need to repeat the same function again and again. If you're downloading GSTR-1, you can select, let's say, 10, 20, or 50 GST numbers at once and give one command to download all the data. We have this feature called Notice Tracker as well, where you can manage the notices of all the GST numbers that have been added to your account. Similarly, you can download the notices in bulk for all the GST numbers from autopilot. You can see the PDF. You can also maintain the status. So if something has been resolved or replied or pending, so you can change the status from here. Filters are available based on the status given, and you can keep track of all the notices here. So this was a little bit information about the software as a whole. Now, when you want to file the return or reconcile for a particular GST number, you select the GST number from the dashboard. You have various tabs wherein all the services within the software are available. You can download your GSTR-1, 2A, 2B, 3B. And we have this report called Consolidated Report, GSTR-1 versus 2A versus 3B. This is very important for filing of your GSTR-9. So under this report, we provide all the information where you can compare your GSTR-1 with 3B. What liability was reported in 3B and what liability was discharged in 3B. So you'd be able to compare all the returns because now the portal, the GST department has been sending a lot of notices when your liability in GSTR-1 does not match 3B. Similarly, you can also see what has come in 2A or 2B and what ITC has been claimed in your 3B. So all of it can be seen under one report itself. Let me show you a sample of that report. So this report is based on invoice date and as well as filing period. You'd be able to find comparison based on both. Since GSTR-9 is based on invoice, essentially financial period, since you can report the data until October return of next financial year, this report is based on invoice date. So here, this is very useful for filing your GSTR-9. You have GSTR-1 consolidated. So all full year's data divided into various tables, you would be able to find at one place. Similarly, you have the data for 3B as well. GSTR-1 summary is calculated the total for 1 year. Similarly, you have GSTR-3B summary. Then you have comparison between 2B and 3B. So you can compare what has come in your 2B as your ITC and what have you claimed in 3B. So if there are any differences, you'd be able to see them here. If you upload your books also, so the report will give you a comparison between the books that have been uploaded to GST Zen with your GSTR 3B. Then you have GSTR 1 with your GSTR 3B. Invoice level information also is provided. If you go with sales overview, purchase overview, this is the total comparison. And you have GSTR 1 by customer, where you'd get details of all the customers segregated into rates and months. GSTR 2B by vendor, segregated into supplier and rates and months. HSN summary also you can get. This is essentially for filing your GSTR-9, since it is required to be uploaded for table 17. So all the data regarding GSTR-9 you'd be able to get in one single report. So this will be very helpful when you're doing your workings for GSTR-9. Similarly, you can also download return summary, or if you have already filed GSTR-9, you can get the filed return in an Excel. And then you also have GSTR-9 table 8A details. We provide that information. We also provide a reconciliation between table 8A and GSTR-2A. So you'd be able to see what has come in GSTR-2A and what has been deemed eligible as per GSTR-9 table 8A. So there you'd be able to see the differences. Okay. So now moving on. This was one part of it. Next is reconciliation. So you have reconciliation available for your purchase register with 2A, purchase register with 2B, and your sales register with GSTR-1 or e-invoices. So this will be invoice level reconciliation that you'd be able to see for one financial year at a time. So you can figure out how the information has come in your GSTR-2A and 2B and what you have in your books. So you would be able to figure out if there is any discrepancy. Okay. Now moving on to filing of returns, you have filing of 1, 3B, 9 and 9C. Now going to GSTR-9. Okay. So the first thing you would do is download the information that is essentially your return data of 20 to 23 as well as 23-24, because the data can be reported in the next financial year up to October returns, as well as you download the data of your previous return. So as I had mentioned before, you can get the data of your GSTR-2A versus GSTR-9 table 8A reconciliation for the purpose of comparison. Next is you download the auto calculated data from the government portal. Okay. So once that is done, you come to this step, fill your GSTR-9. Sorry, the return has already been filed, so the information is not coming here. So you go to this fill option. Here you get the information calculated by the government portal. This is the auto populated data. This is calculated by GST Zen based on your filed returns. And then the last one is your values filled by you. So this will be populated by your calculated by government portal, and the values can be edited then. So whatever workings you have, you can enter them here, save this information, and then go back. So now your return has been saved. Next step is to upload your HSN summary. So HSN summary under table 17 and 18, you can upload through an Excel. So here you have an advantage. In the government portal, you would need to add the entries one by one. Here you can upload everything through an Excel at once. Then the next step is validation. This is very important. So GST Zen is providing a set of validations. So this is comparison between what should be and what you have given. So if validations are passing, you can ensure that by using this report, you can ensure that you're filing the correct return. So if there is any failure of this validation, you can go and check the results. You'll be able to pinpoint any inaccuracy in your GSTR-9 based on this. So this will not, if there are any fails here, this will not stop you in uploading the data. It is just for your convenience that you can look and ensure that, yes, you are filing the correct return. So this can be used to decrease your mistakes that might happen while filing your GSTR-9. So once you have gone through this validations, if there are any failures reported here and there are valid reasons for that, you can go ahead, or you can, if there are any mistakes, you can correct your return and resave it. After going through this validations, you upload this to the portal. So before uploading, you can also check what is going to the portal in this PDF form. So this can also be used to ensure, or if you are filing for your clients, you can send it to them and ask them if all the details, to ensure all the details are correct before moving forward. Just a moment.
Bharti, any support?
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, once you have uploaded, you download the summary. Once summary is generated, again, you can check whether all details have been uploaded correctly, and then you can submit and file. So with easy steps, you can complete your GSTR-9 filing. The next thing is to go with your GSTR-9C. Again, this is only a 10-minute process to file your GSTR-9C. If you have all your workings ready with you, you download your filed GSTR-9 that has been already done here. So GSTR-9 is filed, and then you download that return. Next step is to fill your GSTR-9 form. So you click on this modify. Here, the information will be auto-populated by your GSTR-9, and you can edit those details as per your requirement. If it exactly matches, you can go ahead and upload to the portal. Next would be your uploading of documents. Here also we have observed, when you're directly filing the return from the government portal, a lot of people face issues while uploading their documents, and they get errors very frequently. The government portal is not very reliable when you're uploading the documents directly. So here, if you're uploading through API, it is more reliable and it will be easily uploaded. So you upload the documents here: balance sheet, profit and loss, and any other supporting documents that you might have. So once these are uploaded to GST Zen, you upload the saved return, as well as your documents, that is your balance sheet and profit and loss statement, to the government portal. You can check what is getting uploaded to the portal by downloading this PDF. Again, once upload is done, you download the summary to make sure correct details have been updated at the government portal, and then you proceed to file the return. So as you can see, the filing process is very simple for your 9 and 9C. So this was all regarding your 9 and 9C demo. If there are questions at this point, please let me know.
Yeah, in case if you want to unmute yourself, and you can also ask the question either to me or Bharti in any of the things that we discussed so far. I see one question in the chat. Neha is asking, we have shown previous year sales of 22-23 in R1 of 23-24. Hence, we showed the same adjustment in table 10 R9 as our liability increased. We gave the second effect in table 9. Table 9, you will not give any effect of this, Neha. Which liability should be shown in table 9? Table 9 liability same as table 4. Table 14 liability same as table 10 minus line. So should it match? Yes. Hope this answers your question, Neha. Any other question to anyone? All right. Hope you are filing your returns in time. And in GST Zen, we have the notice management tool where you will be able to track your notices. Request you all to explore that, because as Ashika said in the beginning, that there's been a lot of notices that the department is serving on. And sometimes with understanding the form, without understanding the form, it's timely responding them is more important. And recently the GSTN portal has introduced DRC01B and 1C, not mismatch with R1 and 3B, mismatch with 2B and 3B. So which their expectation is to reply within 7 days. So please take care of all these small things. And we will be also of support. You have seen our support IDs have been shared to you. In case you have questions, do reach to us. This recording would also be shared for your future reference. All right. I think we have answered all the questions. We have come to end of the session. Three people definitely be to thanked before we conclude the session. Utkarsh for managing all the registration and doing the back end of this. Thank you, Utkarsh. And Ashika for put up all the PPT for GSTR-9. Thank you, Ashika, for presentation. And Bharti, the backbone and pillar of the tech of GST Zen. Thank you for walking us through the entire application of how we file GSTR-9. Thank you, everyone. And participants, we are here always to ensure that your compliance is better. In case you need additional support in the usage of the software,